Shall we move on? One more.
Why not? Yes.
This one is especially for you.
Oh dear. Revenge, huh?
This one is especially for you. I found it interesting, and I want to see what you think.
All right, let's go.
All right. So let's go.
Somebody asked what like One Piece. And I'm like, you talk about Jesus, the one who freely walked around with 12 Nakama, getting into shenanigans until he was a wanted. That absolutely. I mean, at the core of the show, the themes are freedom, joy. There's a scripture that talks about where the spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And one of the fruits of the spirit is joy. Which, quick daily reminder, if your Christianity is oppressive, you're doing it wrong. The Straw Hats go around feeding the hungry, healing the sick, child helping the disenfranchised, loving their neighbor no matter what race or sexual orientation for the people. I mean, Jesus, when he was on earth, he taught in parables. So it's apparent that he does like storytelling. So why wouldn't he like a good story like One Piece? There's a scripture that talks about all good things come from God. And Oda Sensei doesn't have to be a Christian, and the anime doesn't have to be religious for it to be considered a good thing and clearly anointed. You know what I mean? Also, Jesus himself is a isekai protagonist. Help, I was reborn as a carpenter's son, and now I have to forgive sin? Like, I mean, it literally writes itself.
Right. Now, there were a lot of references in there that I didn't understand because I don't watch One Piece, but I hoped that you would understand as someone who does watch the franchise. What do you think of what Justin said?
Okay, so this is where I think for me it becomes a bit too much, in the sense that for me she's trying hard. I think that's what I would say. You're trying hard. Sometimes you have to call it for what it is. Yeah. And the examples she made, the analogy she made, I don't know. I disagree with what she's saying. I think One Piece for me would be something like, I don't know, a good secular song that doesn't talk about the devil or anything like that, but it doesn't really preach about the gospel either.
Are the fruits not called devil fruits?
Oh yeah, they're okay. Again, we're not living in a world where there's no devil or evil stuff and whatnot, you know. So just because you've named something a devil fruit, and in fact, if you look at the characters, there are so many different characters there. So if you are trying to pick out problems, you're gonna find many.
I'm not trying to pick anything out. You're just saying that it doesn't mention but I just remember, like, I don't know much about One Piece, but I know the fruits are called devil fruits.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know.
There's a reason to that. You know, and they give you abilities, but they take away your ability to swim and things like that. And the abilities are different. So okay, can I sit here and honestly say that? Oh no, this is a Christian created content? Of course not. Of course not. Yeah. I think it's interesting that you brought this on after we've just finished discussing the whole witchcraft thing and whatnot. If we want to talk about spirits and whatnot, things behind things, it's a really tough one for me because this is one man who dreamt of a fictional story, yeah, and it's going to this day. Okay, for me, it's not different to any fictional book you're gonna pick up from the shelf and read. Right now, of course, some of those fictional books are gonna double into things that you're gonna be like, yo,
shouldn't really be double.
Exactly. You see what I mean? Some are gonna be murder mysteries or whatnot, psychological thrillers, whatnot, things that you read to pass time by. But if you take those categories, can you categorize them as Christian content? Of course not. So what she's done there, trying to say that, okay, Jesus also went around, his message was about freedom. Yes, I agree, but I wouldn't connect that with One Piece. I wouldn't say that because of that, therefore One Piece must be a good thing. No.
I think the question she was responding to, I don't know where she got it from, but was saying, would Jesus like One Piece? What do you think?
Am I allowed to say that? That's a bit of a, can I say that's a bit of a blasphemous question? Because that's like asking, would Jesus like EastEnders? Would Jesus like the NFL? Yeah. Would Jesus like football? Would Jesus like this? We don't know what Jesus would have liked when if he was here. Now, we don't know what he liked when he was on earth. No. What we have is what we are given in the Bible. And aside from that, it's speculation. Now, considering his message and what he came to do, would he have been spending time consuming the useless content that we consume in our pastime? I highly doubt it. I think for him, just like we see him in the temple at 12 years old.
You're swerving the question, if you allow me to interrupt you. I think the heart behind that question, would Jesus like X, is looking at whatever X is, looking at everything that involves whatever, and then looking at the character of Jesus, the message of Jesus, the heart of Jesus, and then seeing, based on who we know Jesus to be, would he be okay with this?
No,
that's where the heart of that question
let me push back a little bit on the heart of the question, because I'm being honest and clear in the saying that it's not a Christian content, so it's up for discussion whether we should be reading all together or not. Yeah, so I'm being clear and open in that regard. Yeah. The question of would Jesus like it? Now, we have desires and let's say sort of like likes and dislikes that God has put in us about the world we are in at the moment. Yeah. So, for example, one likes going on holidays, one likes eating at restaurants, one likes swimming, and so on and so forth. You know, I would not look at these things as the wrong things to do. So when you put, hold on. I know. So when you put Jesus in the mix and say, would Jesus have liked traveling on holidays and spending time, you know, on the resort? I just feel like it's a bit of an out of context question. I don't feel like it exists.
No. Okay, let me ask and tell you why it's not an out of context question. Because in essence, if anything else, I think it's a very good way of measuring the activities that we spend our time doing.
Okay, hold on. Let me push back on that again. If likes and dislikes are differ from person to person, then technically there's only one person who can answer that, which is Jesus, because it would have depended on what he liked to consume.
No. So
because I'm not gonna like the same things that you like, you're not gonna like the same things that I like.
Okay, so somebody likes. Do you know what snuff films are? Do you know what they are?
No.
I think they're, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that they're films like when you watch people getting beheaded or whatever, or like or weird things happening. They could be beheaded or being strangled or whatever, right? Snuff films. If someone asked me, would Jesus like snuff films? I'll say no, he wouldn't.
Fair enough.
So my point is, just because you like something,
let me be unfair.
Just because you like something,
I agree with that.
But then on the flip side, if you ask me, let's say a dance trend, for example, on TikTok. Would Jesus like this dance trend? If there's nothing with the dance trend, I'll be like, yeah, why not? Because it goes back to the verse that I always like to quote. Is it wholesome? Is it righteous? Is it? I forgot the list now.
Fair enough. But
okay, fine. It goes back to that question.
So let me do this. In that case, let me jump into your camp a little bit and let me address the question in the context you presented it. So in which case, I'm going to have to do what she did and look at the premise of the story and look at what's happening. Yeah. Now, I'll give you just a quick 30-second synopsis of One Piece. It's a young boy who, in a world where there are pirates and the navy, right? Pirates are deemed as the bad people because they go around destroying things and things like that. He's got a dream of being a pirate, the king of the pirates. The reason why he wants to be the king of the pirates is because the king of the pirates is the person with the most freedom in the world. So he wants it for the freedom, not to conquer anything, not to demand. In fact, wherever they go, they sort out wars, they sort out conflicts, they save people, they protect people, they feed people, which is what she was making. Yeah. Now, in that world, because it's a make-believe world, there are devil fruits that give people power, and the powers range. He's got the power of what we now know is a sun god Nika, which is gonna get to that later on, which he might give you an mission. But up until then, but the god of liberation, that's what it is. That's where they're going into.
The sun god is the god of liberation.
In the One Piece, yes, it's the god of liberation. So do
you understand why that's problematic in itself? Don't get me wrong. Please understand me. I'm not saying.
Hold on.
I'm not saying stop watching it.
No, I'm not.
I'm just saying that in the statement you uttered, because I remember I don't know all of this, but the sun god being the god of liberation. Is another video problematic in itself.
It's creativeness. So yes, if you can pull up problems, and I'm fair about that. You can create problems, but if we give people license to create content and they're pulling characters from all over the place, loose and things like that.
Fair enough. Let me ask you a question.
Hold on. Let me finish what I was saying.
Okay,
let me finish. Yeah. So he's got the power of the what we know as the gum fruit. He can stretch early on, but like I said, the story has progressed so much now. And he's got 10, 11 crewmates, and they've all got different ambitions. One wants to be the bravest warrior in the sea, one wants to see the all blue, the chef, one wants to be the strongest swordsman, and that's the story. So now, if I'm keeping that story as the way it is without complicating it, You know, now to go back to the question, you know, you were asking me, would Jesus like this dance trend? Would Jesus like this? Would Jesus like this story? At the heart of it, then my answer is going to be yes, because I don't see anything wrong at the heart of it. You see what I mean? In fact, it's a story. It's an empowering story. Sometimes you watch it and you think, you know what? This boy has set out to go achieve his ambitions. Let's all go do that. So that's what I'd have to say.
Just because the story is uplifting and heartwarming and a nice story doesn't necessarily mean it's a good story. Again, I'm not saying it's not a good story.
I agree with that.
All I'm saying is, so the question I wanted to ask, let me go back to the question I wanted to ask. You said it's creativity and whatnot, but if a Christian was being creative and coming up with a story, do you think they would create a story in which there was a sun god who was the god of liberation?
Probably not. And that's which is important to note that the creator of this piece of work is not a Christian. Okay. So again, and this goes back to the. So just before we move on, at least I don't think he's a Christian. I don't know.
No, I don't know anything about it. It's for you to tell me. But just before, because
I don't know anything about the right.
No, I know. But it's interesting. You mentioned that the sun god being the god of liberation. So you personally, do you see no issue with that?
If I view it as content, as creative content, no, it doesn't come into. I separate myself from this piece of fictional work that I'm reading. So no, I don't. For me, reading, let's say, non-fictional stories, especially anime world-based kind of thing, is my happy place. And even in that world, I need to sift out what I'm reading, because not everything is wholesome for my spirit, if I can say. And for me, One Piece is something that I've been enjoying for a very long time. I can't stand up for it as a poster child and say, Christians, go read it. But to myself, and from what I've seen and from what I know of the story, it's an absolutely fine story. So that's what I'm saying. That you asking me, how can you sit here and be okay with that? Well, I'm understanding
okay with what?
The sun god Nika thing. I'm understanding it for what it is, because they've created a world, and in that world they've created characters and so on and so forth, and the characters are doing things, and there's a story, the story is going somewhere, and so on and so forth. So I'm understanding it for that world, and because the same thing you do for music, I do for these things, and I'm able to say that, no, yes, there's gonna be an influence, but I definitely know I'm not going to kneel down and start. I get it. Our sound god nigga that in heaven. That's
no. And this is the thing, when it comes to influence and effect, I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks back when we were talking about violence in movies and men, and you are like saying, I'm not gonna watch a movie and go start fight, and I'm like, that's not how influence works. It works at a very small,
subtle levels.
But okay, I think I know why we're having this discussion, because I was trying to understand something and put something out. I think it's just made sense in my head. I think because what I was trying to say is that if I was you, where anime was my happy place, and that's where I do go to find my release or whatever, and if I was watching something like that and I came across something like Sun God Nika, the god of liberation, I'd be like, okay, no, this is it for me. Move on to the next one. Because for me, that wouldn't sit right with me. I think that's the point I was making, to say that for me, a sun god being the god of liberation is equals sun worship. For me. For me. Person. That's a person thing.
So, okay, let me be unfair to myself, for example, and let me jump on board and say that, okay, fine. So let us say that it's about sun worship. Yeah. So I'm reading a story, and in that story, the people of the story are sun worshiping. They're worshiping idols, for example. Yeah. They don't know Jesus in that story, and so on and so forth, and that's how they live. And I'm reading the story to see how it progresses. Yeah. To see where it goes, to see what's going to be the end of these people, to see what's going to happen, to so on, as a story. What's wrong with that? If
the sun worship is being portrayed as something good, as something wholesome, then that is glorifying evil. If the sun worship, like if the premise is these people are doing sun worship or whatever pagan, and then someone comes in and says, yo, what are you doing? This is a bit weird. What are you doing here? Whatever. Then I could have an argument. They say, okay, fine. It's the story of us. We're in sin, darkness. The light came and convicted us of our ways. But if it's being portrayed as no, this is the good thing to do. This is the right thing to do. It's acceptable. Then that is glorifying evil. That is glorifying idolatry.
That's a fair point if you do that to the story. But again, I don't do that to the story. So I think maybe for now, that's where I don't reach to your conclusion yet. It's like if I take a fictional book, for example, about something else, I'm going to read, that book for what it is. I'm not going to take that book now and then start analyzing it and bring it into the reality and saying that this is what's going on. Therefore, this is this. Therefore,
when you say
that.
Read it for what it is, what do you mean by that?
So give me.
You've said it a few times.
Yeah.
So
okay,
so let me ask here.
Okay, so you remember the lemon snicket stories, right?
The unfortunate
series of unfortunate events, and things like that. Yeah. So there was the brother, I think was the inventor. Was he the inventor? I can't remember now. It's been a long time.
But anyway, I think I only know them because of you. And I never actually.
Yeah, I enjoyed them at the time when I was growing up. They were good, entertaining books. But so you read something like that, for example, one of the boys or all of them were extraordinary children with extraordinary talents. Yeah, even so for their age. Yeah, and as the title suggests, they went through a lot of series of unfortunate events from the time that their parents passed and whatnot to where their happy ending was. Yeah.
Oh, so they did get their happy ending.
Did they? Yeah. They got a happy ending. They had to get a happy ending because they went through a lot. I ain't gonna lie to you. That would have been annoying otherwise. So if I'm reading something like that, I'm not gonna pull anything out of that story and bring it into the reality. You know, so what I mean by that is I'm not going to look at, for example, all the unfortunate events that they're going through as children and think, we people go through a lot in life, don't we? Oh, there might be people that are going through this, you know, you said I'm not going to do that. Because for me, it's not meant to reflect reality. It's not a story based on reality. It's meant to be a fantasy. So that's where it stays. That's why I'm able to, I'm going to say we are able to entertain things like the Marvels, for example, superheroes, people that fly, people that do this, because we know it's make-believe, it's not real. Yeah? So I don't cross the fantasy to the reality. That's how I'm able to be a bit more, I do respect the point you've made about the sun god, but that's why I'm able to be a bit more resilient to that and bit more like, you see what I mean? Because that doesn't do that to me. But if I was consuming something that did blur my reality, then I have a problem. And I think this is where we join together when we talk about witchcraft, even if you're watching it on screen. Yeah, there's a certain something, you know, and I'll be fair to myself as well to say that it could be that in one of these days I'm going to be watching reading One Piece manga or watching One Piece manga, and then something might come that might, you know, make me feel that, okay, even though it's make-believe, it's blurred in a certain line for my psyche. Then that becomes a problem. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
You are making sense in what you're saying. Yeah, it's just, I just don't know how I go about disagreeing with it. But it's okay. It doesn't matter. I don't know.
I mean, you've allowed me to talk about One Piece on air. Come on.
Jeez.
I mean, this is the win for me. But I bet you people are going to be sitting there watching it like, this guy is just trying to defend this One Piece thing. I'm not. I'm fair to it. It's close to my heart. But believe it or not, I have asked myself certain questions because the story is so intriguing. Sometimes I'm like, yo, God, please, I want this story to finish before the second come in. But then I have found myself asking questions like, if something did actually challenge me so much and I had to stop, let's say One Piece, like Koteki you're talking about, you know, would I be able to? And my story was yes. Because, my answer was yes. Because you come to a certain realization. For me, it's always about what you want in life, right? What matters more. So is there anything that I would risk for my salvation, for example, if I put it like that? Is there anything that holds a candle to, you know, to me potentially being in everlasting life with Christ? And the answer is going to be no, you know, because the joy and, let's say, excitement and happiness that I get from reading One Piece and seeing the story develop, and, you know, God created amazing people, because you read this thing, it's a whole world, and to think that it came from one person, that is a testimony to God in itself. You know, well, I don't know, but Oda, I think, is the guy. So, you know, that joy that I get from reading that, well, I'm going to experience that 1,000 times more in Christ. So it's not something that I'm going to die for and say I'm going to fight for. No, but at the moment, as life is going, as things are out of today, it's a story that I enjoy to read. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It's a story that I enjoy to read, and it's an animation that I like to see on screen, you know. And at the moment, except for, I think so far in the whole series, I've only seen 2, if not 3, LGBT characters, and then there's a whole world of LGBT, but they didn't really dab into that too much, which I was very happy about. But they made a feature for a period. it's rather stayed focused. But again, he has to reflect the culture at the moment. So I'm just like, well, I'm not mad at it. I just don't want to see it, but I'm not mad at it. But you know.
Well, listen, there you have it. It was an interesting video. It was
I can't believe you are going to end it.
It was. Yeah, listen, we started with Trump in the White House, went to Trump in Gaza, and then went to Trump in Trump versus witches, Trump and witchcraft.
The poor man finding himself a victim of spells
and stuff. But
that didn't work.
We've covered a lot today, so you let us know what you think. Whatever took your fancy, whatever interesting conversation has developed in your head as a result of what we've been saying, let us know. Reach out in our comments below. You can reach out to us for our social media or our good places where we hang out. We will be responding to a lot more comments going forward. So definitely do that.